Welcome back to the Everyday Grief podcast. I'm Dr. Anitra, a grief coach, seminarian, and educator in the sacred work of loss, healing, and becoming. Today's episode begins a small series of sessions with the simple title called You Are Not a Line Item. And you probably know that this is part of a larger series on layoffs, leaves, and promotions. So if you've recently been laid off, or if you've been grieving a job loss from the past, this series of episodes is for you. You may be in a place where you are in a good spot now, but you sometimes think about what could have or should have been with that former job. And you also may be in a place of experiencing deep hurt because you just can't see or understand what just happened. I also know what it's like to wonder if anyone else can see or experience the particular pain that comes with this kind of loss. So wherever you are right now, driving, walking, laying low on the couch, I want to invite you to settle in. And I want you to know that you are not alone. Let's begin. And I want to begin today with a truth that really gets said out loud. Being laid off feels like a kind of death, a vocational death, a relational rupture, an identity crack. And the pain is not just emotional, it's existential. Because whether we name it or not, many of us built a life around that work. We poured time, energy, creativity, problem-solving, care into it. We were proud of what we were building. We thought there would be more time. I know that I did. And then with one meeting, it's over. You may have heard something like your services are no longer needed as you're sitting across from the person you hope to learn from a long period of time. And then they will explain the company's strategy, the difference in the strategy, all to assure you that it's not personal, it's business. But when your livelihood, your belonging, your daily routines are suddenly removed, oh yeah, it's going to feel personal. Because how could it not be? What I've learned from my own experience of being laid off and from the people I companion is that this moment holds grief, shame, and moral injury. And I want to pause right there. Moral injury is what happens when our internal values are violated by external realities. When we're treated in a way that says, you're replaceable, you're a cost, you're no longer needed, Even when we know intellectually all that is not true, emotionally it kind of sticks. So for me, that injury didn't just hit my bank account, it hit my soul. Because I wasn't just grieving a paycheck, I was grieving what I felt was a calling. I had envisioned years of growth in that role, the relationships that I was building and would build over time, the impact I would make, the kind of professional I thought I'd become. And then it was all gone. In that moment, I had to find stillness. I didn't want to numb myself, but I wanted to tell the truth to God, to myself, to those who wanted to support me but didn't know how. And I had to resist the urge to perform strength just to make them feel better. I didn't want pity though, but I also didn't want to pretend this wasn't devastating. I mean, my heart was broken. I really enjoyed the work that I was doing. So here's the spiritual truth that I clung to. Even Jesus was let go by systems, by friends, by followers. He was misunderstood, rejected, and dismissed. And yet, he never allowed their dismissal to define his identity. He still knew who he was, still knew the call. Jesus didn't internalize their rejection. He knew who he was. And that truth didn't always protect him from pain, but it anchored him in purpose. I believe that same anchoring is available for each of us. And if you've ever been laid off, whether it was 1 month ago, 5 years ago, you might still be carrying quiet shame. And I'll tell you how this might look for you. This quiet shame. You still tell yourself something about that story all these years ago. You may have had other jobs. You may have had people ask you about whatever happened to when you worked there. And then this feeling, this shame comes and washes over you, and you try to remember, how do you tell this story so that you still sound okay, when all along that was still the job that you really liked, the role that you loved, the people that you really connected with, and you still miss being there. There's a part of you that continues to whisper, maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I stayed too long. Maybe in some way my layoff there, the one that's distant and the more recent one, maybe it was my fault. So I want to speak directly to that voice. You were not laid off because you weren't enough. You were laid off because a system prioritized numbers over humanity. And that system doesn't get to write your story. So here's what I want to invite you to do. I don't want you to bypass the grief, but I want you to reclaim your narrative. And I want you to take a moment with me and write down something that I'm going to give you that can be powerful. And no matter what the stories are, because every layoff is layered, I want you to just remember, I am not a line item. I am a life. I am still becoming. I am not a line item. 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 I am a life. I am a life. I am a life. I am a life. I am still becoming. I am still becoming. I am still becoming. I am not a line item. I am a life. I am still becoming. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a child, if we had made a mistake, if we had disobeyed a rule of the classroom, we chewed gum, did something we were not supposed to do, the teacher would tell us to get a sheet of paper and we had to write what we're not going to do again 100 times and then turn it in. I think this was a strategy to help reprogram us. So I want to ask you to do that today because I want to reprogram you. Whatever message you've been telling yourself, this is a reprogram. We're going to reset your mind. Again, I am not a line item. Yes, they may have had a spreadsheet of all the people who were going to be laid off. And you were one of those people on the spreadsheet. Wasn't about your performance. It was a business move. But you are not a line item. You are a life. There are dimensions to you. And you are still becoming. And I want you to say this aloud. I want you to write it down. Even if your breath, if your voice shakes, if your breath is heavy and hard to get the words out, because this is an important reality for you to acknowledge. I am not a line item. I am a life. I am still becoming. Let it become like a breath prayer for you, a declaration, a mantra of sacred defiance. I am not a line item. I am a life. I am still becoming. Because your identity is not a reflection of that exit interview, it's rooted in your essence, your character, your calling, your care. And even if the world can't see it right now, you still carry divine worth. You are the Imago Dei. You are made in the likeness and image of Almighty God. You carry divine worth. So let's pause right there because I want you to allow your body and your soul to allow this to seep into the pores of all that you are. You are not a line item. You are a life. You are still becoming. So let us now pause here and breathe. Place your hand on your heart if that feels grounding for you. And I want you to inhale with me for 4 counts. We'll hold for 4 and exhale for 6. So let's do that together. Inhale. Hold for 4 seconds. And now exhale for 6. Now I want you to ask yourself gently, what Am I grieving? Think about the job that you have lost, the layoff that may have been recent or years ago. What about that circumstance has you connected to it still emotionally? Was it the work, the vision of what your life could have become? I know that's often my story. I had this whole vision of how my career would unfold. What are you still grieving? Are the relationships, the way that you showed up in community, amongst your peers? Perhaps it was a status or an identity that you associated with that role. Maybe you're grieving the way that the news rolled out. Was it virtual? Was it in person? An email? What is the sorrow attached to it that you've not been able to talk about? I want you to take a moment and just notice that. You don't have to do anything about it right now, but just naming what that could be could be powerful. And I want to give you the space to think about what you're grieving. When you look back at that former job, what are you still proud of when you think about it? What are the things that make you especially proud as you think about that former job? What do you want to remember about yourself? So the employer has been going down the spreadsheet list and letting people know about the layoff. There are people who may celebrate your departure, and then there are those who are going to lament, cry, and grieve your departure. There may be those who just simply don't know, and they may be laid off as well. And in the midst of these different types of ways that you leave, sometimes it's hard for you to find your own space to think about what do you want to remember about yourself, like how you showed up in that role. What do you want to remember about yourself, about who you are at your core? The job is a portion of your overall life. What is it about yourself right now that you know you need to remember? Do you remember who you really are? I want you to bring that to yourself right now. Who are you? Your character, your personhood, who you are in the presence of others, your spiritual life, your family life. Who are you in full? And I want you to see that. So this practice that I'm inviting you to today is not about moving on. It's about moving with what's true and allowing the story to open again slowly. My beloved friends, you are not broken. You are not replaceable. You are not a line item. You are a whole human being with a story, with a spirit, with a future that is still unfolding. This moment of grief is not the end. It is a holy interruption, a sacred reorientation, an invitation to become who you are even without the title. May you be gentle with yourself in the becoming. And may the next part of your story be told with truth, power, and peace. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who is navigating a layoff or career grief. You never know who's holding this kind of sorrow in silence. And if you ever want to go deeper, stay tuned for the next episode, a new story for a closed door. Until then, may you grieve with honesty. May you tell the truth with tenderness. And may you know you are not alone.